Hello everybody. In today's Touchdesigner tutorial, we will actually learn how to create this endless loop animation. And it's also more about a tunnel that we are creating, which is just going or passing through his mouth. Now, this is a very simple and important technique that you would actually get to learn to create this recursive loop of an image to bring it again and again without worrying about the end of these tunnel. So through this example, you will be able to understand how this endless loop can be created and how this tunnel effect can also be produced along with the rotations and various other things. You'd be wondering that how difficult this whole network is going to be. So as you can see that this is one more simple network that we have where we play around with images. We have got instancing and a basic render network. So you'd be surprised at how such small networks can produce some of the best outputs that we could ever imagine. So yeah, let's get going with our Touchdesigner tutorial. Well, before we begin, I just wanted to reach out to all of you, letting you know that I've created my Patreon page. And as you can see, I've got just one level of membership here. Definitely, by being my patron, it is definitely going to help me a lot. It's going to be a big contribution that you guys would be making in. I would really appreciate if you become my patron. I definitely would consider that to be a token of appreciation. Yeah, so I just wanted to let you guys know that I've created my Patreon page. So let's get going with the Touchdesigner tutorial. All right, so let's get going with the tutorial. First thing first, let's clear the canvas. All right, so we'll start with rectangle. So let's go to SOP, pick up rectangle, apply null, and then assign it to geometry. Then let's apply camera, and we need light. Now for the material, we have an option of Phong, but at this point of time, we can go with constant. And material is definitely going to play a big role in this entire assignment. So we'll see how it is actually going to create an impressive effect for us. So material is done. Let's create the network of tops. Let's start with the render, null, and then we have RGB key. So things are good at this point of time. So this is one setup that we have done. All right, so one of the most important thing for this entire assignment is to find out a picture which is good enough to produce this set of tunneling effect. Now you would be wondering that what basic foundation or what basic factors that we need in order to choose an image, right? So we definitely need two things to go with. First, the picture should be looking straight at us. So that is one that we want to get. We don't want pictures to look at somewhere else. And the other thing is we need a background to be black. So let's have a look to a couple of pictures that we see on internet. So if you go and search screaming man face, you'd actually come across so many pictures. You'd see this, you'd see this one, you'd see this one. There are even this one, right? But we choose to go with this picture because as you can see, this picture of men is literally looking right in front of us. And the background is black as well, which is definitely helping us. We can use this picture as well, but this is really, really dark. You would have to apply a lot of levels and image editing on top of it. But this is a better picture. So you can search through screaming man face picture on Google image search, and you should be able to find this picture. So let's just download this picture first. All right, so once the picture has been downloaded, what you really need to do is, so let's use it as a part of our material kernel map. So let's go to movie file in. We'll go to files. We had picture downloaded as men face 1. Done. So this is the picture that we downloaded. Now let's go and apply null. And let's use this null to apply it to our constant as a color map. The one thing that you would need to do is go to movie file in 1 and go to common and make sure the pixel format is 32-bit RGBA. So this is done. Now let's create the instancing. Okay. Now we'll just go and design the instancing first, and then I'll try and explain why that instancing setup was designed accordingly. Okay. So for that, I would go with pattern. Pattern is one of the simplest and easiest to go with. So let's go with pattern. Now I'll also need constant. So let's have constant, and I'm going to define two variables here. One is the sample, and second that I'm going to define is the distance. So sample, I would say I need 15 times this image to come right in front of me. So the effect that we want to apply, the number of images that are coming in front of us is defined based on the sample that we are going to put up. So currently I'm saying I'll need 15 samples. So 15 images will start popping in front of you. The other important thing is the distance. So you see that there is a distance between one image and the another image. That distance is actually driven by a parameter that we create here. So I'm saying that I need the distance of 3 for every 2 images which are going to pop up, right? So that's easy. Now we go to pattern. Instead of sign, we make it as ramp. Now this ramp will be very much useful for us. So first thing first, let's go and pick up the sample and apply it as a length of the pattern. So now it's 15. Now you would see that there is a range from and there is a range to. We'll leave from range as it is, which is 0 to 1. But from, we'll make it in this way that I need 15 into 3. So I need 15 frames of the images to come, but I need the distance as 3. So 15 into 3 will turn out to be 45 for us. So let's grab sample and then multiply that with distance. So we're going to say distance. Done. So now we say that my range of 15 images which I'm going to bring up has to have a distance of 3 images for every image, and the total length that we are going to get is going to be 45. So this is done. Now once this is done, I also need to change my channel name from chan1 to tz. So it becomes easy for us because we know that everything we are going to do is going to be on tz dimension or axis. So now let's apply transform. Now by applying transform, we want to ensure that we are moving the tz position. So that can be done by abs time.seconds into 3. So as you can see that tz is going to change. So tz is going to change. Now in order to see it properly, let's use select and let's just select tz. So now you can see that based on the animation value of ABS time, my values are changing for the tz. But the problem that we face is the positions are exceeding the limits that we would want to set up. So we wanted to have our image rotated every 3 distance. So in total, it turns out to be 45. So I wanted things from 0 to 45. But if you look at it, here the limits are just going way beyond, which is 1600, 1620, 1640, and it just keeps on going. So in order to resolve this issue, I will be using a limit chop. Now this limit chop is very beautiful. It actually allows you to do a loop, clamp, zigzag. So at this point of time, I need a loop, and that looping can be done. Now by default, it actually brings the value as -1 to 1. So you see all the 15 images that we see are just looping between -1 and 1. We don't want that. What we really need is we need everything to be looped between 0 to 45. So the expression that we had for the distance, we copy that and we apply it to the maximum. So now you can see that every frame is generated, but it is just limiting within the boundaries that has been specified here. So this looks good. Now we go and say null. Done. Now if you look at it, so we have null 4. Let's enable the instancing on our geometry. Let's pick up null 4 and apply it. And now we would just leave tx and ty as it is because we are not working on that at all. All we need is tz. So let's use tz. As you can see, by applying tz, things are working absolutely fine. I mean, this is what we wanted. But there is one change that we would have to do is in limit, let's make it from 0. So now we have values from 0 to 45. Okay. The problem that we see is we do not see this tunneling effect, right? Now, in order to create that tunneling effect, what we really need to do is we need to do a little bit of editing on the image. We want to apply a threshold as an operator, which can enable the alpha values, or it will make the image transparent. So wherever there is a pitch dark values, it will turn out to be transparent for us. So now you would be thinking, what do we do about it? So it's very simple. What we really need to do is let's pick up the image that we had downloaded earlier. Let's open that in Microsoft Paint. So it's kind of a hack that you can use. Now, what am I going to do is I am just going to focus on his mouth, and I want to make it complete black so that when I apply threshold as a function, I can make sure that entire mouthpiece turns out to be transparent. So it becomes a hollow for us. So I will be using freeform selection. So if you do not have Photoshop, do not worry about it. You can use Microsoft Paint and just select the edges in a best possible way. You don't need to be very picky, but yeah, if you can make it perfect, it's good. Otherwise, you can just go with very simple drawing, just like what I do. Now, just select this and press delete button. So this has been deleted. If you want to fine tune things, you can fine tune here, and this has been deleted. You can go here as well and you can delete it. Done. Now what we really do is we go and select fill with color, we select black color, and that's it. So we have ensured that his mouth is completely dark, which is black color. Now what we do is let's save this picture as updated. So we know that this is the updated picture that we have got. So what we do is we open our Touchdesigner. We had movie file 1, movie file in as an operator. Now we go and change the image. So instead of men face 1, we will pick it up as men face 1 updated. Done. So now if we play, our image has been updated. So this is where a function will come where we will be using. So let's brighten up the image a little bit by using level. So we change the brightness from 1 to 1.1. So it looks a little brighter, which is good. Now we apply a threshold as a chop. So threshold is something which is going to play a huge role for us. So what we do is currently, if you look at the values for threshold is 0.5. Let's go down to the point where we only see his entire face except the hollow mouth. So we go down to the point which is 0.01. Done. We can go a little further, but by going further, you can see that image is turning out to be very, very bright, which we don't need it. So we'll limit ourselves to 0.011. Done. Now what we do is, once this has been done, we use composite. So let's add composite, and we will be applying composite with the output of level. And the operation that we are going to use is multiply. Done. Now if we go and say, it is still not helping us, it is still not doing the things. But now what we really need to do is we select constant, and there is a property which is blending transparency. So we have to go and turn on the blending transparency, and now we can see that things are popping up properly. But still, it's not up to the point that I really need. So the reason, now we can see we definitely have a transparency coming up. We definitely have transparency coming up. But what we really need to do is we need to position our camera in such a way that we get to see how well the frames are being generated. So in order to understand that, what we would do is, let's disable the parameter. We can disable the parameter by pressing P and enable it by pressing P again. So let's disable the parameters for now. Let's split our screen into two parts. Let's open the geometric viewer, and in geometric viewer we will be able to see how things are popping up. So you can see there is a little problem that we are facing. I wanted my frames to be generated in the -z position. Whereas if you look at it, all the frames are being generated in the z position of positive side, which is kind of a problem for me, and which is where I'm not able to see the output that I wanted. So first what we do is we have a choice. We can either take our camera down to this point, which we don't want to do it, but for us, inversing the position of these frames into negative side of z-axis is very, very much doable. So you would be thinking, how would we do it? Well, it's very simple. Let's enable the parameter screen first by pressing P. Let's go to limit top. And here, instead of just multiplying with distance, we multiply with minus of distance. So by doing minus of distance, every frame which were generated on the positive side now got inversed to the negative end, right? So this looks good. This is what we wanted. Now let us see how well the output is coming up. So in order to understand or see the output, let's just go and play our preview it. Now you can preview it and you can see things are nice, things are coming up. You can see the tunneling effect which is going through his mouth. But still, the animation is not flawless. So now you'd be thinking, what do we do? So the problem is with the position of camera. What we really need to do is, if you look at it, the frames are coming until this point and the camera is far away. So we just pick up our camera. Let's drag it to the point where it is coming closer to the frame being generated. Current position of camera is 5. We would want to drag it down to -1, so it becomes a transparent effect that we wanted to go with. So now we go with -1 as a position. Now let's try and see how well the image is popping up for us. Okay, so this is perfect. This is absolutely good. But now you'd be thinking the position of the mouth is not in a center position, and which is why we do not see that flawless effect. Now that can be resolved by just a simple operator. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off this geometric viewer for now. So now what I'm going to do is I will be using transform as an operator to resolve that issue. By using transform, what I really need to do is I just need to position my frame, my image, too little up so that this mouth becomes the center point of the image. So let's use the Tx and Ty. So at this point, I want to work on Ty. So let's bring image little up. So we go one step, or we go with 0.01 as an increment. Now I don't want to go up to the point where I'm literally losing down my image picture. So I don't want things to be clipped down. I need things to be proper. So I'm limiting myself to 0.05. I could go a little higher as well, but then my image is going to get clipped, which I don't want it. So I would just go and stick to 0.06. Done. Let's play it and let's see how well it is working. This is looking absolutely stunning, and this is what we wanted. But then there is another problem that we are facing. If you look at it, there are images which are transparent, but this image is not transparent. So you would be wondering why only this image and not any other image are not transparent, right? So the reason being, it is to do with the instancing, and that can be resolved by working on the constant. So if you look at it in constant, in common properties, we have something called as discard pixel based alpha. So by enabling pixel based alpha and by setting up the threshold as 0.025, we are literally eradicating that situation where one particular image was not being transparent for us. And this is where we are literally finished with our assignment. So if you look at it, every image which is coming up in front of us is completely transparent. But if you disable the discard pixel based alpha, you would again start to see one particular frame which is just going to be complete dark. And it won't give you an effect of the tunnel that we want to achieve. So by enabling the discard pixel based alpha, you literally get a complete flawless tunnel that we want to achieve. But now you would be wondering what else can be done? What else can be created? You definitely have one more choice where you can play around with the rotation of the image. So now you'd be thinking what rotation we can apply on top of the instances that we are getting. So let's give it a try and let's see what best can be done. So in order to apply the rotation stuff, I would be working with noise, right? But one important thing that we need to do is let's save this project file because it literally got crashed on the other day when I was working. So tutorial 101. Okay, now the important thing that you need to understand is while working on instancing is you need to find out what is the real instancing frames that we want to create as a part of this project. So we see 0 to 14, and if you look at here, it's 0 to 599, which is way higher, which we don't want it. So in order to have the same set of instance value as pattern 1, we can go to channel, and you can see that things are currently set up at the seconds level. So let's change start and end from seconds to samples. Now you'd be wondering, we have 15 samples. So let's drag this 15 sample to the end part. So now we see things a little bit properly. Now you would be wondering, we have 0 to 15 and we have 0 to 14 in pattern. So let's pick up the end part, and we have already dragged the sample value from constant 2, and all we do is we apply -1. So now the instance value between pattern 1 and instance value in noise 1 is completely same. So it's all cool for us, right? What we really need to do is we want to rotate the TZ value or RZ value of every image which is coming up. So let's rename our noise channel from chan1 to RZ. Okay. Now let's reduce the period to around 0.23. Okay. And what we do is let's animate TZ value with ABS time dot seconds, 0.5 for now. Or maybe we can make it as 1. We'll see how well it can be created. These values can be changed later on. Now, currently, if you look at it, the values are just ranging from -5 to 0.5. Now, rotation of 0.5, negative or plus, is not going to make any big difference. But still, let's go and try. We go and apply math, okay? And this math will go to null. And, okay, let's not use null at this point of time. We'll delete null, but we'll use merge, okay? And now we will be merging the value of tz that we were getting earlier to create the instancing. And these values, we are going to set it to null for. Now we have tz. Let's go to geometry and let's go to instancing tab and we see rotate op. So let's drag null for. And since we are working on the RZ position, so ignore X and Y rotate values, just go with rotate Z and set it up as RZ. Now, if you look at it, we have applied RZ, but there is no significant rotation that we see. The reason being, the current values are just ranging between 0.5 to -0.5. So since we have got maths here, let's go and use the range property. Now, what we need to define is my starting values are -5 to 0.5. And the range that I'm going to set it up, the output that I would want as a part of my math is -90 to +90. So as in when I do it, you can actually see that values are popping up like that. All right, so you definitely see that there are two frames which are just sticking together. There would be an instance where you would actually see, yes, this is where there were two frames which were sticking together. So let's wait for that moment to come, and I'll show you where exactly I'm referring to. We'll just wait. Yes. So you can see that there are two frames which are sticking together. It's because the value of this and this is turning out to be pretty much similar. So what we do is we go to limit, and instead of 0 to -45, I say -1 to -45. And by doing that, we will be able to resolve that particular issue. So this is one that we have resolved. Now, what we really need is, if you need more significant rotation, you can change the period to 0.02 to 0.1. So you'd see more spikes coming in. And in math, instead of -90, we can actually have around 120 to 120. So you can have more significant movement coming up. So depending on what values that you would want to set it up, it's all up to you. I generally prefer -90 to 90. So it gives pretty good view. But yeah, at the end of the day, this is how the whole output turns out to be. If you want your image to be a little more brighter, you can go and play around with level. Currently the value is set to 1.1, but you can play around and you can set any values that you want. But yeah, you can see that with very few simple things, we are able to produce some of the most fascinating things that you could actually create it through Touchdesigner. And this is something that you learned as a part of today's Touchdesigner session. I hope you really enjoyed it. I hope you had a wonderful time learning this. So at the end, I would want to tell you that if you really enjoy my tutorial, if you learn a lot out of it, I would really appreciate if you could support me on Patreon. It'll be a wonderful gesture of your appreciation, and I would really value your contribution. Well, from Sydney, I say goodbye at this point of time, and I'll come back with a few more good tutorials. See you until next tutorial. Bye for now. Thank you.